Spider-Man has one of the most iconic rogues galleries in all of comics. In fact, the only character I'd say matches or even exceeds Spidey in those regards is Batman. If one had to narrow down his three most recognizable adversaries, it'd undoubtedly be the Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, and Venom. During the events of Marvel's first big crossover event, Secret Wars in 1984, Spidey had his suit destroyed during a particularly intense battle. He was directed to a machine that he was told could fabricate a new suit for him instantly, which gave him a new, slick, black suit with a neat-looking spider logo. Unbeknownst to him, this was actually the work of an alien suit. The suit would continue to bond with Peter but do things like use his body to roam around while Peter was asleep, leaving him exhausted when he woke up. Brief aside, but in a lot of media adaptations, the symbiote can also amplify the emotions of its host, making them more aggressive. This actually wasn't originally done in the comics, but instead was an invention of the 1990s animated series. It became a popular enough idea that practically every other adaptation of the Black Suit Saga that followed implements this idea, including Spectacular Spider-Man, the third Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie, and most recently Insomniac's Spider-Man 2 for PS5. This ended up also being retconned into the comics as well. After some growing concern, Peter takes the suit to Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four, who reveals that the suit is a living life form called a symbiote. With Mr. Fantastic's help, Peter is able to stop the symbiote from permanently bonding with him and also discovers in the process that it's sensitive to sound. After Peter abandons the symbiote, it escapes containment once again and tries to bond with Peter, having formed an emotional attachment to him. Peter is able to use some church bells to get the suit off of him permanently, believing it to be killed for good. During all of this time, Eddie Brock was a respected journalist, who managed to score a confession and interview from a serial killer calling himself the Sin Eater. However, the man Eddie did the story on turned out to be a fraud with a history of confessing the crimes he didn't commit, and Spidey was able to find the real Sin Eater, discrediting Eddie and his story. Brock was fired and made a laughingstock of the journalism world, reduced to writing for tabloids just to get by. Wanting to take his own life but held back by his Catholic faith, Eddie instead found himself in a church praying for forgiveness. This just so happened to be the same church where the symbiote was laying low, and the rest is history. Thanks to it retaining some of Peter's genetic data from its time bonded with him, the symbiote grants Venom the ability to spin its own webbing similar to Spidey's, though his is organic and provided by the symbiote itself. Venom is also uniquely one of the few beings that can completely evade Spider-Man's spider sensibility without the need of any kind of technology, allowing him to get the drop on him in a lot of their earliest tussles. Now, while Venom is generally most recognizable as a villain, he's actually been an anti-hero for much longer than he's been a straight-up villain. At one point, Eddie and Peter agree on a truce. If Eddie promises to not seriously harm or kill anyone including Peter, Peter will let him be and stay out of his way. This leads to Venom's Lethal Protector era, where he starts being written as a well-meaning anti-hero with a somewhat twisted sense of justice. And it's this era that his incarnation in Marvel vs. Capcom is based off of. Venom is depicted as light blue in the first Marvel vs. Capcom game. He's usually black with dark blue accents in the comics, but the coloration makes sense here, since he's based off of that Lethal Protection era where he did have a lighter blue color scheme. Venom's first appearance in the series was in Marvel vs. Capcom Clash of Superheroes as the lone newcomer on the Marvel side. Interestingly enough, Spider-Man using the symbiote was proposed for the previous Versus game, Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, but the development team didn't have the time or budget to make that idea happen, leading to them implementing another version of Spider-Man instead, based off of his armored suit. Venom's voice actor in the first two Versus games is Rod Wilson. Rod played Ant-Man in the late 90s Avengers cartoon, as well as Havoc in X-Men Mutant Academy 2 on PlayStation. Speaking of PlayStation, he was also the voice of Marvin in Resident Evil 2, interestingly enough. He has some interesting stuff going on with him in this game, so without further ado, before we get started, I want to go on a brief music theory tangent here regarding Venom's theme because it does some really interesting stuff. Venom's theme is really cool because it's kind of erratic and all over the place, and I feel like that's kind of the point. It's not an uncommon method for composers to use irregular time signatures in compositions to evoke a foreign or even alien-esque feeling. One video game series in particular that I think implements this incredibly well is Konami's Contra series. The first Contra game starts off in the jungle, not unlike, say, Rambo, but ends in a lair obviously inspired by the Alien movies. The soundtracks reflect this as well. The first few stage themes are upbeat with catchy melodies and easy to decipher time signatures. Then you get to Alien's lair and you're hit with creepy imagery, aliens swarming you, and a track that not only has an irregular time signature, but constantly switches between multiple irregular time signatures, going from 11/8 to 5/8 to 6/8 back to 11/8. Extremely impressive for an NES composition. Contra 3 on the Super Nintendo inverts this. The plot of this game has the aliens attack Earth from the start, with the game's first stage taking place in a destroyed, bombed-out metropolis swarming with aliens. The stage music right out of the gate goes for uncommon time signatures, with the stage 1 music having a mainly 7/8 time signature that occasionally switches over the 4/4, 13/8, and 3/4. Once you get to the later stages, however, you get more heroic sounding music with more common time signatures. I say all that to say this. I actually can't parse the time signatures in Venom's theme to save my life, and that's my favorite thing about the song. It's truly alien sounding. If you do happen to know though, I'd appreciate it if you let me know in the comments. Venom is a somewhat slow character with a lot of punishable attacks and lowish health. However, he's very easy to pick up and play and has a pretty easy to understand game plan. I mentioned before that Venom can use webbing similar to Spider-Man thanks to the symbiote history with him, and that gets reflected in his moveset as well, since he gets a few things from Spidey specifically. Marvel 1 was the first game to give Spidey an air dash by having him swing across the screen. Venom gets the ability to do this as well. Venom's also the only other character in the series aside from Spider-Man, Deadpool, and Norimaru that have taunts that use comic book and manga-styled word bubbles.
Villain! 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 Come again!
Venom's first special move is Venom Fang.
Venom Fang! Venom Fang!
Good!
The symbiote takes the form of a giant maw and dives at the opponent. The strength and distance of the attack depends on the strength of the punch button pressed. Venom's next special move is Venom Rush.
Venom Block!
Good!
Venom Block!
He uses the symbiote to generate tentacles that spring up from the ground. The strength and distance it'll spawn from are determined by the kick button pressed. Tentacles and tendrils are one of the most common ways Venom attacks his adversaries in the comics. Next up is Web Throw. He gets this one from Spidey as well, though instead of simply swinging them around like Spider-Man, he slams them into the ground a few times before tossing them, something Venom's been known to do a lot. Venom's first hyper combo is Venom Web, done with a quarter circle forward in 2 punches.
Fantastic!
Gotcha!
Venom jumps to the middle of the screen and does a full screen web attack. If it connects, Venom does an automated combo ending with a Venom Fang. This attack is very easily punished, but works well as a whiff punish itself due to its range. Venom's second hyper combo is Death Bite, done with a quarter circle forward and 2 kicks.
Very good!
This is essentially a powered up version of Venom Rush that hits multiple times and goes nearly full screen. Here are Venom's colors. And here are Venom's extra colors in the PS1 port. Venom's moveset is pretty straightforward. However, there's one additional side to Venom that we should talk about here. Hyper Venom. Hyper Venom is an alternate form of Venom that can be selected by highlighting Chun-Li on the character select screen and inputting the displayed code. If you're playing the Dreamcast version and want to unlock him permanently, you have to play arcade mode, don't use your assist characters at all, finish 2 stages with a variable combo finish and at least 4 with a variable cross finish before stage 7. He'll show up, and once you beat him, save the game to your VMU to keep him. On PS1, simply beat the game with Venom and save the game to your memory card. Hyper Venom is more than likely meant to visually represent Carnage, probably the second most popular symbiote in Marvel. Unlike Venom, Carnage is full-on chaotic evil. While sharing a prison cell with serial killer Cletus Cassidy, Eddie Brock's symbiote gave birth, reproducing asexually to spawn a new symbiote that bonded with the crazed killer. Carnage, true to his name, kills indiscriminately, and almost always necessitates Spider-Man and Venom to team up, as he's far stronger than either of them separately. Hyper Venom has a slightly different moveset compared to Venom. He also has way lower health, some of the lowest in the entire series, but makes up for it by being arguably the best character in the game outside of Gold War Machine. Hyper Venom is extremely fast and can absolutely bully his opponent. If you get hit, you're probably gonna get clapped, but if you're playing optimally, you can touch of death anyone from just about anywhere on screen. Here's an example of an easy corner infinite you can do with him.
Villain.
Hyper Venom's first special move is Lunge Bite. This uses regular Venom's Fierce Punch animation and can be mashed for more hits. His second special move is Dive Bite, done with a quarter circle forward motion and punch in the air.
Good.
Quarter circle forward and kick is Venom Bite. This is a somewhat altered version of Venom Rush that can be mashed for additional hits.
Great. Good.
Hyper Venom also retains Web Throw.
Web throw. Web throw. Web throw.
For that matter, he also retains Venom's Air Dash. His first Hyper combo is Venom Web. It functions exactly the same as his normal incarnation.
Tactic.
Gotcha.
The same goes for Death Bite as well.
Wonderful. Very good.
And here are Hyper Venom's colors. And here are his extra colors in the PS1 port. And here's Venom's ending. Funnily enough, Venom has 2 possible endings in the PS1 version, depending on the partner type you chose at the beginning of the arcade ladder. If you chose special partners, he'll get his standard ending, but if you decide to use the partner heroes instead, he'll get the generic ending used for all of the secret characters in the game outside of Roll and Shadow Lady. Venom isn't too different in Marvel 2. He still has predictable, easily punishable normals and still rewards having decent fighting game fundamentals. Venom Web is slightly safer as a super now since you can either DHC out of it if it whiffs or DHC into it if you want to guarantee it to work. Venom's first assist is Venom Fang.
Hey!
Do your
Venom
job.
back. Hey!
Venom's second assist is Venom Rush.
Hey!
Do your
Venom
job.
back. Hey!
Venom's final assist is his launcher.
Do your job. Hey! Do your job. Hey!
Most of Venom's colors are references to other Marvel symbiotes. His light kick color is based off of Riot. His heavy punch color is based off of Phage. His heavy kick color is based off of Lasher. And his assist 1 color is based off of Agony. Symbiotes tend to come in all shapes, sizes, and colors, so it's neat to see his alternate color palettes lean into that. It's also tangentially related to this video's comic book recommendation. Venom's had a pretty interesting history over the years, going from a straight-up Spider-Man villain to an anti-hero that sometimes finds himself teaming up with Spidey, to more recent stories that saw him facing off with beings like Null, the god of symbiotes. The run that led up to the Null stuff, written by Donny Cates, is pretty good, and I do recommend reading it, but my recommendation for the video is a lot simpler and more relevant to Venom's portrayal in the Versus games, and that's his 1993 6-issue miniseries, Venom: Lethal Protector. After forming a truce with Spider-Man that would see the two agree to not interfere with each other's lives, Venom decides to relocate to the West Coast, where he was originally born. Because he's still known as a villainous killer at this point though, even finding someplace to stay ends up putting him in the line of fire of police. While evading them, he comes across a group of people being harassed in a park and rescues them, and they welcome him, or attempt to anyway, into their hidden underground society where they live away from prying eyes. Unfortunately, they're also in the crosshairs of a man named Roland Treese, who wants to find a stockpile of gold that's been rumored to be in the vicinity. This sets off a chain of events that sees Spider-Man also getting involved, as well as the debut of some new symbiotes. This miniseries, more than any other, is what established Venom's anti-hero persona, and it's not afraid to have a bit of fun with the idea either, using humor to show off Venom's somewhat twisted sense of heroism and protection of the innocent. It's a short, easily digestible read that tells you everything you need to know about Eddie, Venom, and their relationship with Spider-Man. If you like that, he also has some follow-up miniseries like Funeral Pyre and Separation Anxiety, though your mileage may vary on those. Venom sat out Marvel 3, as Marvel apparently didn't want him on the roster. They seem to have changed their tune and allowed Capcom to use him for Marvel Infinite though, being one of the handful of DLC characters made for the game, and explicitly the only DLC character that's a returning veteran. Unlike Thanos, who also returned in Infinite from Marvel 2, Venom wasn't reworked from the ground up, but instead retained his legacy moveset from the previous games alongside some new additions. His voice actor in this game is Andrew Morgado, who's done a good bit of video game voice work in recent games, but most relevantly to fighting games was the voice of Collector in Mortal Kombat 11, and also voices Reptile in Mortal Kombat 1. Venom has what I'd say is one of the better themes in Infinite. Still a pretty low bar, but credit where credit's due. It's nowhere near as alien sounding as his previous theme, but it's still a decent composition. Venom still has his air dash from previous games, but can now air dash backwards as well. Keeping up with some of Venom's abilities being cribbed from Spidey, Venom also gets the multi-directional web zip maneuver that Spider-Man got in Marvel 3, now called Web Glide. Venom has 2 command normals in Infinite that are actually repurposed from some of his normals from Marvel 1 and 2. First is Venom Predate, done with forward and heavy punch. This one was his old Fierce Punch attack in past games. It's even better this time around since it can be comboed into from nearly all of his ground normals, and it actually forces a crumple state. Next is Venom Creep, done in the air with forward and heavy punch. This one used to be his aerial Fierce Punch.
Stay back! I've got ya! I've got ya! Stay back! I've got ya!
Venom Fang is back and still done with quarter circle forward and punch. I've gotta say, they did a fantastic job with Venom's animations.
Get him, Fang!
Venom Rush is also still done with a quarter circle forward and kick.
What? Good! Get lost! Get lost!
Venom gets a new aerial special, Venom Barrel, done with a quarter circle back and punch. This is a multi-hitting advancing attack that ends with a wall bounce and can be super cancelled. The heavy version of this goes slightly upwards. He also gets a new grounded special as well, Venom Trap, done by pressing down twice and kick, with the kick button determining where the trap is laid.
We come on, Red! You look tasty!
If your opponent goes into it, they'll be briefly immobilized. If no one goes into it, it'll spring out vertically. Just be aware that you can't have more than one trap activated at a time. Web Throw is also back and has the exact same input.
Break you! Cool. Where are you going? Why don't we just break you? Good.
Venom Web returns and also has the exact same input as before.
Let's go, let's go! Red! Shut up and let us eat you!
Death Bite is back with the same input as well.
Venom Grow! See? Isn't this fun? We'll eat you! Eat everything!
Venom now has a level 3, Venom Bash, done with a quarter circle back and 2 punches. Venom pummels the opponent with multiple attacks before slamming down on them.
Strongest! You're not so tough! We'll chew you to pieces! Let the slaughter begin! You think you can take us? You're not ready yet!
Venom's default color scheme is now his trademark black. His second color is more than likely referencing Carnage as well as his Hyper Venom variant in Marvel 1. His third color is based on Anti-Venom. More on that in a sec. His fourth color is his Heavy Punch color from Marvel 2. His alternate costume is Anti-Venom. Anti-Venom was created when Martin Lee, the Negative Man, performatively cured Eddie Brock of his cancer with his powers, birthing a new kind of symbiote. Eddie has his usual powers but also has healing abilities as well. Here are the rest of his colors. His second color seems to be referencing Eddie's appearance during his stint with the Toxin symbiote. Toxin spawned from Carnage and originally bonded to a cop named Patrick Mulligan. Toxin was stronger than both Venom and Carnage, and unlike either of them, Toxin wanted to do some good without killing, so Venom and Carnage teamed up to try and kill him out of fear of how much stronger he'd be down the line. His third color also seems to reference the second form Eddie took with the Toxin symbiote, this one Eddie himself loosely based on Flash Thompson's Venom outfit. And here are all of Venom's character interactions.
Venom. Don't mention Spider-Man's name. We despise him. Venom. Here, kitty kitty, come out and play. Venom. You don't have any powers. Stay behind us, weakling. Venom. That's a big weapon, girlie. Watch where you point it. I would be 10 times the Avenger than the cursed Spider was.
Let's improve our skills together. Now come.
Who will come out on top? Ready!
Don't get greedy, villain. They're ours to eat.
Spider-Man and his amazing friend are reporting for duty.
Who will come out on top? Ready!
We've never eaten a demon before. How do you taste?
My power is truly greater.
Who will come out on top? Ready!
You will never be half the photographer we were.
Get the hell off me!
Who will come out on top? Ready!
Be quiet, or we'll eat you too.
Avengers, assemble!
Who will come out on top? Ready!
We've been looking forward to this, Spider. You have much to pay for.
If we win, I get a penthouse suite in Avengers Tower.
Who will come out on top? Ready!
Purple One, we remember you. Now, we will destroy you.
There is no one above me.
Who will come out on top? Ready!
Hate you, but we will still crush you.
Those who control the stones control the universe.
Who will come out on top? Ready!
Disgusting! Your two minds are awash in chaos.
Do you think you can defeat us?
While Venom might not be the most played character in any game competitively, he's still one of the more popular inclusions in the series. He's an artistic triumph for the games as well. He's one of the most impressively animated characters in the entire series, both in 2D and 3D, and Marvel Infinite in particular is a great showing for him. The Marvel vs. games definitely needed more Spider-Man characters, and while we almost got another one in Marvel 3, and I'll talk about the recent developments regarding that character soon, I'm glad they brought him back in Infinite, and as someone that enjoys that game a lot despite its issues, I think Venom was definitely one of the game's bright spots. In the comics, Eddie is about as close as a hero now as you can get without explicitly calling him one. He's the new god of symbiotes as of the King in Black story, and he's passed down the Venom symbiote down to his son, Dylan. That's going to do it for this video. As always, thanks for watching, like and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I'll catch you next time. Take care.